Mike and Tom welcome you to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, your gateway to all things geeky and intriguing. Today, nerds, will be jumping into the dark and atmospheric world of The First Omen, a 2024 religious horror prequel that promises to chill and thrill. We'll explore its unsettling themes, compare it to its predecessors, and dive into what makes this entry a unique blend of fear and faith. Get ready for an unholy baptism on our journey into the heart of darkness. Let's get started. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, I never seen the little Easter egg basket for the First Omen. I didn't see that image before. That was funny.
Yeah, it kind of just worked. It was, well, you know, like a lot of these things are kind of done on the fly here. And I'm going to fix my, there we go. Yeah, now I don't feel like it's so strange looking thing. All right. It looks like I'm like sitting all the way over here trying to look in. Trying to talk to you, Tom. How's it going over here? All right.
Looking back. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Hey, so this is this is me and you doing our thing. We got the new name tags here on the thing. Go ahead and as you watch us, go ahead and pick up the Sharpie and the hello, my name is sticker there on the table in front of you. All joking aside, we are Mike and Tom here, and we're doing this our show this week. We are into sci-fi, comic books, horror of note. This week we are jumping. We haven't actually. When was the last time we did a horror film that you can?
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Yeah, I think the last one that could that sort of slides into it is The Crow, but that Crow kind of sticks its foot in a lot of different genres like action. Yeah. So yeah, it has I think a lot of crossover appeal to horror fans. But yeah, it's been a while since we've done a true horror movie. Which, I think our plans was to cover sort of a schlocky horror movie that I'd picked from the 70s. But I started watching this after we did our last podcast, and I was very taken with the First Omen, and I was like, I messaged you, can we please switch to this, please? And you said yes, we could. So I was very excited. This is the First Omen, which is a prequel to the Omen movies. I was never really a big fan of the Omen movies, but yeah, I wanted to give this one a try. I'd heard some good things about it, and of course we're going to get into it. I will say it's not a perfect movie. There are things that are a little off on it, but I was very excited as I watched it and enjoyed it immensely. Maybe despite and maybe because of some of its flaws, but yeah. So yeah, I really wanted to do this this week.
Yeah, I was happy to see this, and I'm always down because I've also never I mean, aside from until we started talking about it and planning for it, never touched this movie, which is from 2024 this year. I have some thought. I was actually sad that I didn't know about this movie and see it in the theaters, because I feel like that would have been this, because it does such a good job of doing old and new for horror films. It does it very perfectly. It has its flaws for sure, and then of course we're going to get into the background, some extra fine things that went way beyond marketing that kind of became made people cultists over this film, practically, pun intended. But before we get into the main event here, we are going to jump into the machine here and do some plugging on our bona fides, as I like to say. We are on the the Nerdom is always available on YouTube. That is where we primarily are. We're rolling up high at 216. This will be 217. We're doing this live, so we thank you so much if you're joining us. And we would really, really appreciate it if you could give our channel a subscribe. We would love to see our numbers go up a little bit more. It would be great. We have a lot of fun main events we're going to be covering over the next upcoming weeks here as we get closer to fall and as the seasons change and we kind of we slide right into Halloween season, etc. keep an eye out for that. We don't nothing we want to announce right now, but that's something that we've been talking about in the background for a while. But we want to kind of make this year extra special. This will be rolling up on our third 3 years, right? 2 years, yeah,
3 years.
Yeah, we'll hit 3 years in November, I believe, something like that. December, whatever. That we decided to do this little fun little thing. But without further ado, I will cover.
Despite all the haters out there that try to keep us down, we're staying around.
Yeah, we don't have too many to be clear. No. We stay away from the, you talk about schlocky. We kind of stay away from the more schlocky end of the spectrum of opinion based everything to like where every background detail about me and like my voting preferences and everything else in the world that has nothing to do with like just trying to find something good to watch. That's just that old school experience. And I think that we like to push hard the films and things that we like to recommend or cover, whether it's kind of take a poke at the bear kind of thing, lightheartedly. I would say we never really get too hardcore on any of our opinions, but aside from just being enthusiastic for some of the older fun things that we've covered over time. But with that being said, we are available here, and we would really appreciate it if you could give us a like. A comment would be even better. We'd love to see that interaction. Tell us where you fell in on what is your history with the Omen? Was it one of true, like when you were a kid and growing up? Love to hear stories like that. Also, Tom heads up our social media division over there on the Reddits or the Reddit. He's also available on Twitter, live and in the flesh, at McAllister_T. That is our official channel. He always is very good about putting out when we do our main events or special features where he covers something or I cover something along those lines. Always a good source to interact with us there. Also, my little tiny corner of the internet. This is the heavier side of the thing, more opinion based. I cover entertainment, politics, history, geology, all kinds of cool stuff at ApeIt.Ink. Also available on X, Twitter, same as Tom, at ApeIt_Ink. You can always find us there. And with that, I think we're ready to get into the main event here. Now, what is your history with this franchise? I know you said it sounded like you didn't really have too much. But I guess another valid question, the inverse of it would be, I guess, was it just something that you just never really kind of floated into your stream of life to peruse and take a look at?
It always seemed like the when you talk about demon possession or the Antichrist, the first thing that comes to mind is the Exorcist, and then as a side thought, everybody mentions the Omen. I don't know of anyone that's really like diehard Omen fans. The different horror franchises have their diehard fans, but I've never met a diehard Omen fan. I'm sure they're out there, and those that are probably drawn to this podcast, this episode, will probably be diehard Omen fans. So please put your comments in the comments below and tell us your history. But yeah, I did see the original Omen that was on cable TV back in the day when I was young. And I remember enjoying it. And I saw I don't know if I saw all of the sequels. I know I've seen at least the second one, maybe the third one. I forget how many sequels there are. Is there 3 or 4?
I believe,
do you know?
Yeah, I have that in my notes here. Let me pull it up here, and I'm just going to go through this because it's just good. Okay, and to kind of set the first Omen from this year, 2024. This is the prequel to all of it. So this is the root of the tree, so to speak. So, with that being in mind, the Omen, Richard Donner, 1976. Omen 2, 1978. The Omen 3, The Final Conflict, 1981. The Omen 4, The Awakening, 1991. Oh, 2 more. The Omen, 2006. And then the First Omen, which is the one that we're covering this week. So it has history.
So there's
Yeah, and I was just gonna say the First Omen had a $2.8 million budget that started all of this in '76, and it got about 60 million, a little like almost $61 million in the box office. So very very good start for a production. And of course, while I mention Richard Donner, I might as well bring up the other two things that we've talked about that he was involved with. I believe this is Richard Donner, Lady Hawk. I believe he directed that.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I did, and I still owe the audience six. He did 6 or 7 episodes of the Twilight Zone. And I only say that because okay, I thought I had the information anyway. He does that, and he did 6 episodes in the 50s, going to the 50s to 60s, I believe, something along those lines. So very talented individual. I love it. I just wanted to weave that in there that we also covered on our channel. Those are also in the show notes down below. And anyway, I'll get back to the main topic here.
But yeah, just to get back
to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not a huge Omen fan. I enjoyed the first one, but I think the sequels kind of had that sort of diminishing return kind of thing where each additional one was a little lesser than the next one. So when this movie came out, I did see it, the trailer for it in front of Furioso when I went to see that in the theater. They showed that, and I was impressed with the trailer. I thought it might be really good, but the thing with trailers, you can make even a crap movie kind of look good if you have some good scenes in there. So I still didn't know if I really wanted to see it, but I heard a lot of good things about it.
Right.
And so, and the fact that it's a prequel, you don't have to have any of the baggage of the sequels, and you could kind of take it on its own. There's a lot of people are kind of bagging on prequels. Because they hold the baggage of being compared to the first movies, but also being a prequel, what happens in the original ones. So the maybe the surprise of what happens is kind of lessened by the prequels. That's sort of the kind of the idea of that. But with the First Omen, I don't think you have that. You don't have that. You don't have that groundswell of all these Omen fans. At least there's not like a presence of Omen fans online that are chomping at the bit saying that they better do this or they shouldn't do that, or there's not that.
Yeah.
That it's not hamstringed by a fandom, a rabid fandom for it. At least I don't think there is. So I went in with this movie as just an isolated movie. That's why I didn't really kind of go into the Omen movies that much, because I kind of looked at this as its own thing, and I really enjoyed it as its own thing. I guess the irony is I also watched the First Omen on my new laptop, an Omen.
Nice.
And I created a nice little vibe for me. I don't know if I saw it on just my TV, like I would have maybe had the same experience, but I had my headphones on,
right.
And I had my laptop. I was sitting, it was late at night after we did our podcast, sitting in the living room, the lights out, it's totally dark. And all I had was the sound of the movie, and I have to say it did creep me out quite a bit during different scenes of it. Now I don't really get scared during horror movies, but yeah, there was a lot of creep factor that had me glancing around. It did have a very good ambiance to it, and the surround sound to it was very good, very good. They really play up a lot of the sound, which I don't think I would have got just watching it on my regular TV because I don't have a really fancy surround sound thing going.
No, but you know what though? I have a little mini laptop though, and I don't know what it is. It's not all that special, but it has like some kind of Dolby. You would think they would be gimmicky kind of speakers or whatever, but I actually do like watching it on it. Not because the sound is amazing, because this you're talking about like a 13-inch, if that kind of very,
Yeah.
very, very quick and light and go. But the way that the sound, it does it very well to like where if you're watching something of quality, you can actually tell the highs and lows. It's just very remarkable. So much different than the tinny little speakers that we had back in the day, with that you would associate a laptop with. So I get you. I understand what you're saying with the vibe. I watched it part of the week where I didn't have the kiddos. It was like a very late evening. I think it was I had I can't remember what it was, but it was kind of like one of those things like where you kind of fall asleep on the couch and then I wake up and I kind of get up and then get going and then it's still in the middle of the night, right? And then it's like, you know what? Do I want to go to bed or what do I'm going to watch the movie. That's what I like to do sometimes. So it had definitely had a creep. Holy shit, it had a creepy factor. Pardon my language here. And to kind of get into, we're not really spoiling anything, but to kind of set to really tee this up to why it's the First Omen and the prequels to, of course, the whole thing. And this is not a spoiler thing at all, but the Omen, the whole point of it is the Antichrist. That there's this kid and it's born, and there are these dark forces and Illuminati, and I'm making things up here. Like there are these groups of people, the satanic, or whatever, that are kind of putting the puzzle pieces together to essentially bring about the end of the world. With the Antichrist and all that goes into that, which is it's such a good deep subject matter if it's done right. If it's not done right, it's forgettable. But when it hits very, very well, comes to mind the Exorcist, not the Exorcist, we just covered it, the older one, sorry, excuse me, the Rosemary's Baby. Good grief, excuse me.
Oh, yeah. That's
very similar push and pull kind of vibes from my point of view. Anyway, coming into this.
Yeah. The Omen was more Rosemary's Baby was more kind of highbrow, and the Omen was always seen as sort of quick and dirty horror movie that kind of gets in and out and kind of has kind of a political message. He gets born into a senator's family, so he's kind of set towards becoming a political figure, and having a force over the world. Right. And that one in the Omen series, it was more or less kind of a satanic cult that was kind of birthing him, whereas in the First Omen, kind of spoilery, is it's the Catholic Church that these goings on are going on.
Right. Of course it's not like Satanist or that kind of thing. It's actually the other kind of another, which I like too. I thought was more sophisticated in some ways to kind of not retrace their steps and kind of like put it on its head, but still be believable for how they set it up.
Exactly. Well, and then also one of my friends always likes to say is Satanists they're Christians too. They just are on the other side of the coin, they still believe in the same things. In the Omen, of course, came out in the 70s. During the 70s, there was a big thing about evil kids. That was sort of a theme that kind of obsessed the 70s. Evil kids and evil cults. That was kind of a big thing. Stephen King had a market on evil kids and doing stuff with that. But a lot of horror kind of dealt with that. And of course, the First Omen's not a reboot; it's a prequel. It takes place in the 70s, very much in the 70s, and you gotta love that 70s vibe. They kind of capture it perfectly.
Oh, they do perfectly. Like I said, it's like a mix of old and new horror. It's very satisfying. And I'm so glad I went in blind, that I couldn't prejudge it or anything like that. That's kind of the pristine way.
Exactly. Whenever you go into a movie that you have low expectation or no expectations on, and it's something like this. Something like this that does knock it out of the park. It's very satisfying and very enjoyable. It's one of those movies that kind of kind of hits you at the start. It's that first opening scene with Father Brennan meeting with this other priest. I don't know. Yeah, it just
Grabs
it
you.
kind of literally hits you over the head with the violence and creepiness of
Well,
this movie.
well,
Mhm,
you're already thrust into a very concrete world, you know,
mhm,
of authority figures and who to trust and all these kind of
mhm,
concepts of on the outside
mhm,
anyway, until you start really getting into it. What is sanctity? What is sacred?
mhm,
What is profane? You know,
mhm,
I'm not gonna. I don't have the chops to really dive into that.
mhm,
A fucking dissertation on, pardon my language,
mhm.
on the whatever. But Bill, his character, Bill Nighy, I think
No, yeah. Mhm,
now people
mhm.
they were saying like it was like Bill Nye, like kind of almost, yeah, Bill Nye.
Like the
That's
science guy.
yeah, Bill
Yeah,
Nye. That's how they
yeah.
pronounce it. So never
Mhm.
mind my jacked up whatever, but he has such gravity, and when he's speaking,
Gravitas, yeah.
yeah, no, he
Mhm,
absolutely does. It draws you in. So I guess my point
mhm,
being, from the get go, you don't. It doesn't take long to, for at least it didn't take long for me to get interested and like really get into. Whoa, what's gonna happen? You know, and then you're hooked, all the way. They did such a good job of keeping your eyeball. No, it's not perfect. Like I agree with you, but this is why I feel like I've missed this. I feel like this is a missed opportunity. I would have really enjoyed seeing this in the theater.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, yeah, and it comes out close to my birthday, so that would have been a great birthday present to myself as seeing this.
mhm.
But yeah, well, that's one of those things. Is yeah, that's the ephemeral kind of element of film. Is that yeah, you miss that chance, but yeah, but you could ever see it again and on the small screen. And this is a Disney film. I always like to
True.
say that, even though they did it under the 20th century branch of things, but yeah, it's very much obviously Disney owns Fox, so it's very much a Disney film. So yeah, I don't think you'll get any Disney princesses from this, but yeah, to get back to like the
No.
themes of the movie, of course, The Omen was very much of its time. Um, Back then, everybody was kind of obsessed with cults. Cults were kind of the uh, there was a groundswell of people abandoning religion and going to traditional religions and finding alternate religions in America. So there was a lot of kind of an obsession with cults and getting people out of cults and deprogramming them and all that stuff. So there was that fear, and then of course there's the satanic panic that really came into its own in the 80s. So yeah, the Omen sort of I'm sure kind of contributed to this, and this movie is very much of its time. There's this uh, of course there's the Handmaiden's Tale and on Hulu as well. But there's kind of a this is very feminine female movie, and there's of course with it being a prequel, it's kind of getting ready for the Antichrist. So it deals with the birth of the Antichrist. And the control of a woman's body to give birth to the Antichrist. So the whole thing with not to get too political, but everybody has Roe v. Wade on their mind, and I'm sure this movie is kind of dealing with those emotions.
I didn't think
But
about that. Yeah.
yeah, but this movie, and that's a good thing that you didn't think of that, because this movie deals with those themes, and probably the people that made the movie had that pertinent on their mind, but it doesn't hit you over the head with those themes. This is a piece of art. This is supposed to be inspired by real life ideas and stuff, and horror movies and sci-fi takes those real life ideas and kind of twist it and turn it in a way that kind of makes something more of it and kind of makes it something else altogether. So those the art that just reflects it and doesn't give anything else to it really aren't really doing what they should do. But this movie is doing that thing, which is kind of just taking idea and running with it and making it its own.
No, it did a very good job of bringing you in, setting the story, the people, getting you to care about this this unusual character. She's not, I don't know what she is. I don't know. I'm not even gonna bother with it, but she not quite a nun, almost a nun, whatever it is.
She's sort of in training to become a nun, sort of,
right.
Or I guess her first
That's
steps
right. She was sent. Right. She went over to Rome to complete some more training, or to be the holy chastened sisters of the perpetual indulgence of I'm just making up. I'm just saying a bunch of Catholic words.
Right.
No.
Yeah, Margaret. Beautifully acted by Nell Tiger. Very interesting name. But she's amazing in it. She was also a character in Game of Thrones as well. But she does an amazing performance in this movie.
I agree.
You know, you forget that she's an actress. She's just someone you're watching in this movie. She you believe that she is that character, and there's no you almost don't recognize her in her headshot, because she's very much there's not it's not a glamour movie. She's not she's very much a nun in this, although there's those scenes, I think you showed one of the pictures, where she has her hair splayed out on her pillow, almost like a spider. Her hair is. They do a lot of things. There's a lot of interesting imagery in this movie. A lot of the still shots from the movie are very captivating, and they're very captivating on the screen as well. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. This is one. It's like they did a '70s movie, but you have full wonderful, beautiful quality. Which is always always good, but I added to it, and that's why I appreciate that old and new kind of mix.
There's that beautiful scene where the candles kind of make like a kind of jaws of a animal, and she's in the middle of it praying. It's very much a very, very cool little scene there. But there's a lot of things. There's occasionally scenes that don't quite work for me. There's a fine line with horror. If you don't get it quite right, it becomes funny. And then if you get it right, it becomes either eerie or frightening or horrifying. For the most part, they get it right for the most part. And there's just like a scene or two where it kind of doesn't quite hit it for me. The runtime's a little long. It is a 2-hour movie, and they probably could have trimmed it down some, but when I was trying to go back and think of scenes they could cut, I was having a hard time with that. Maybe kind of trim down some of the scenes, but there's a nice thing where they kind of linger on certain things, and you might lose that if you do cut.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I really, I of all the movies, I wish I would have been able to see this in the theater, but of course I was unaware of it. So I completely missed it. You probably would have been anybody, if there's anybody clued into it, it would have been you. To do. But
and I was
you give, you get and you give. In this one, it's not perfect. There are some kind of pacing issues for me. I would love to. I did start to watch the original. I didn't finish it, but I got busy with the week. I tried that later on. I tried to recreate the magic, which the vibe. It just wasn't quite there, but it still holds up. It is better than it has any right to be for being the 6th or 7th movie in the line.
Right. Yeah.
But they
usually
do it so well. They do it so well.
Yeah, and I don't think I think one of probably, of course I'm getting into the heads of the people that made the movie, but I think the fact that it doesn't have like a huge audience, there's not like a huge fandom for the Omen. There's not like there probably wasn't the pressure that you would have if you're making a prequel to Star Wars, say, where there'd be so many hands in the pot. This movie was probably kind of left to its own devices to make, and you could tell that Arkasha Stevenson, who directs this movie, is very much aware of horror and is very much a fan of horror. She also directed one of the seasons of Channel Zero. I don't know if you're aware of Channel Zero. Channel Zero was a sci-fi show where they kind of took creepypastas from the internet and kind of made them into season-long episodes or season-long stories. So it's sort of like an anthology. Each season was a different story, but it kind of took a different creepypasta and kind of made it its own. And she directed a whole season, which was 6 episodes of The Dream Door. And that one was, I think I've seen every season. I think the last season I didn't see the last of.
Yeah, you're a good, you were a sci-fi fan in that era. Yeah. This has come up before. Yeah, go on. Yeah, continue, my friend. I just want to call it out.
Her season of it was pretty good. Wasn't the best. I think the best one was probably the first season. But yeah, she did a really good job on that one. I think, again, with a lot of televised horror, with it being like a season worth of episodes, it kind of gets kind of bloated. Most horror kind of works well being kind of tight and kind of, it just kind of loses its thread sometimes if you don't have the story to tell for that long of a runtime, which, with it being 6 episodes, had been, a little over 2 hours. So, but yeah, so yeah, she did do that. And so I think this is her first directed movie. But you can tell she does an amazing job of kind of reflecting old horror movies, but making them her own. The scene that made me want to do this on our podcast was, there's a scene, and I saw you kind of go over it on Twitter. There's a scene that's very much echoes a scene in Possession that takes later on. It's a little spoilery, so maybe skip ahead if you haven't seen it yet. But the character Margaret, there's sort of a kind of a misleading thing where it comes to find out that she's the one that's pregnant with the Antichrist. And there's a scene where she's swells up pregnant, and that's very much a scene that's kind of echoes the Possession. If it did, they pull it off. Her acting very much pulls that off. It could turn out to be very funny if you did it incorrectly or if you didn't act it properly. Isabelle Adjani did the same scene in Possession. She's like in a subway, and she's being kind of she has the spirit of the demon, or the demon possession is kind of taking her over, and then she's gonna let's go, and is in this kind of rapture of just insanity. And there's the kind of an echoing scene in this movie with Margaret that kind of echoes it. And if it wasn't done properly, you would say, oh, well, they just stole that scene from Possession. But in this movie, they kind of do a kind of tribute to that, but kind of do it their own way. And both scenes are acted extremely well. And like I say, in both movies, it could have been sort of a very bad, very hilarious scene, but it's acted so well that you are kind of with that actress, and you feel the emotions, and you kind of go through it, and it takes you to a different level than what you would have would be if they weren't able to pull that off. So that's very much on the actress herself to pull that off, because it's them. It's yeah, they have to do it. And just the fact that she was able to pull it off in this movie, and also having to kind of compare with the other movie, and the fact that they took that movie Possession, which is such an obscure movie, to kind of echo a scene from. You got to give them props for that. They're not taking a scene from the third Nightmare Before Elm Street movie. They're taking from the classics. They're Possession, kind of a hidden, forgotten classic. But yeah, it's amazing that they were able to kind of dig that out and kind of echo that. But yeah, with that scene, it had me. It almost, I was with the movie through that whole time, but that kind of just brought it up to a whole different level.
Yeah, I echo that my own way. For me,
did you when you were watching it, did you get that reference to that movie, Possession?
I did not. I did not see the. I didn't. I didn't see a lot of the things until I saw. Like, to be honest with you, I was just so into the world building and the visuals of it. Then, like, when I got a little bit more commentary on it, like from different channels and things that kind of give me a little bit more depth to what I was looking at, then they pointed them out like that. Like, no, I didn't connect the dots like that, but I was just the whole the world. I want to say that they shot this in 35 millimeter, but I think I might be wrong on that. I don't have that in my fact sheet, but however they did it. They did it very well. Like, yeah,
at least they echoed what it would look like if they didn't.
Well, and I can't tell you I don't know enough about Italian anything. I'd love to know enough about Italian cinema to say, oh, this period piece and here this was correct or whatever. I'm just not that kind of a nerd. But they succeeded very well for the world building and for this. And I think some of the background that I had heard that I read was that they couldn't they had to like find deconsecrated churches outside of Rome to get as far away from the Catholic Church as they could to kind of do some of the I might be misplacing that with the original commentary that I was listening to, but again, I just love this thing. That's why Possession, yeah, I do man, I want to watch that now again. Now that you say that, now I want to watch it again. Yeah, because it is a favorite. Such a great Sam Neill. I think that that's probably one of my most.
Yeah, and there's another link in that. I think it's the third Omen movie. The Antichrist is played by an adult in an adult form as Sam Neill, who is the star of Possession. So there's the two links now to, to Possession.
Yeah, in 1981. Yep. Yeah, which is so funny because that was Possession was in 80 or 81 for sure.
Yep.
So that would have been right on the nose for him.
Yeah, he filmed Possession and the Omen 3 the same year. God, yeah, crazy.
Now I see now, kind of like looking here through the stills, like they did it very well for the most part. And God, when you are like when it kind of throws off the cover to kind of just show you. One of the things that kind of not quite scared me, but it definitely was an eerie feeling. No noise, no sound whatsoever. She's floating down the staircase or whatever. You remember that scene? It's just silent. It's just straight on creepy. It does that so well, like where like this scene as well that I have on the screen. Like where you kind of you're like, what the you're seeing this you're seeing the profane be twisted into to the church as it goes. Don't know how to eloquently put it more than that, but I loved how that it intertwined them so well, and I wish this makes me want to go watch the first one for sure. I'd probably cut it off after that unless the audience can tell us like the kind of like everybody knows The Godfather. Godfather 2, and then you don't mess with the Godfather 3. You just don't bother. You kind of cut it out there. So if there's anybody in the audience that
There's
can tell
always
us,
there's always a contrarian out there that says, "Oh, Godfather 3 is the best one."
well, hey, and you know what?
Just
God
be
bless them.
a shit kicker, you know.
And you know the beautiful part about that is, without those people, we wouldn't have really good, fascinating facts or links. You know, all the wonderful things that can branch out from. So God bless you. I wouldn't be one of them. But aside from that, but if you're out there and you're in the audience and you are a Omen aficionado, yeah, please let us know. Like, where do you cut it off here? Like, where's the spectrum here from, like, you know, great to horrible? Because obviously we're kind of screen wrapping here on the first Omen, going back to the first one, but it's I could easily see where everything would lock in very well.
Yeah, and I think I did see the first 3. I think it was sort of like I think it was I can remember right. I think it was Fox, the Fox TV, Fox channel, which makes sense as it was a 20th Century Fox series. I think they had like a week long or at least 3-day event where they showed the first 3 Omen films on TV, and I watched all 3 at that point, I think. Yeah, and like I said, I enjoyed the first one, and then as you went, it kind of lessens. And to double back to your point, the AI of Brave browser says that it was screened in 3 theaters in 35 millimeter format, but it's unclear if the film was actually shot in 35 millimeters. So there's not a clear answer, which I think if it was shot in 35 millimeter, they would kind of talk about it. Yeah, would talk about it. But yeah, I don't know for sure. But yeah, it's highly enjoyable movie. There's some, I think with a lot of horror movies, once you start thinking about it and kind of talk about or thinking about the plausibility of it, sometimes it kind of falls apart. Which you really kind of have to go into it just as horror is more of an emotional thing. With sci-fi, with the world building, with the sci-fi stuff, right. It does need to have a firm structure and kind of have a clear clear foundation for what you're going to do. Whereas with horror, it can be more ephemeral. You know, the rules of horror is sort of kind of up in the air, kind of, and so the facts don't have to really be solid. But yeah, one of the things that I kept kind of thinking after the movie was, well, you know, why did they keep her in the dark? I mean, you know, if if you're having, you know, it seemed like everybody was in on the joke, so to speak, except for the people that were going to give birth to you know, the Antichrist. So why weren't they in the fold as well? You know, why were they kind of left dumb? They didn't give a clear reason why, which was kind of interesting.
Well, I think that kind of goes back into the pacing. You can only do so much with so much time. And I didn't normally. I'm pretty sensitive to this. Like if a movie or film, even if I love it, if it starts to, and this is only an old man problem. The older I get, the more this becomes an issue. I think, or the more I become sensitive to it, I suppose would be a better way to put it. But all that being said, once a movie starts to drag it, you know, like you kind of get that catch point, like where you're not quite in the groove anymore. I didn't get that with this film, which is why it makes me regret not seeing it, you know, this year. You know, if it had been last year, say la vie. But we had, I think this year, this year is probably our most coordinated year of going to the theater and seeing this or seeing that, way more than that. And I'd love to entertain that a little bit more. You know, but it kind of just depends on that, like where you have dirtbag theaters that will charge you $5 more just to not see ads. Like I mean, their version. I'm poking fun at the bear. I'm poking the bear here at Amazon and how they do the things, like which had you, me, and a few other folks that are in my orbit in our circles here that have been like, you know what, Amazon, we'll step away from it, but. Having said that, this would have been totally worth the cost of admission, price of admission. It is very shockingly good. Like where again this kind of rolls back to and they did flirt with that's kind of some trivia for the film. They did flirt with this being NC-17 or not being able to be played to the as many screens as possible. If they bump it down to rated R, then they don't have to compromise, and then they're very limited scope for what they did. But in any case, it did.
Yep.
I think it did very well. I'm just kind of putting out all together. Actually, it kind of weirdly looks like how the first film did in some ways.
Yeah, very close. Kind of under it. Yeah, I think it cost $30 million to make, so it made over that.
Quite a bit more than the original, right?
Yeah, and this movie was going to be straight to Hulu. They thought after it was made, they go, oh well, this seems to be something we could throw out in the theater as well. So rightly so. They and then they probably didn't have the budget to advertise it a lot, so it wasn't on everybody's mind. So it did actually quite well for what it was, and for being just a straight to Hulu kind of movie. But yeah, it's I think it's maybe more or less the fact that they were kind of left alone. They didn't have too many studio heads kind of say, you got to do this, you got to have that. It sort of got to be its own thing, and I think that's to its benefit. And also the fact that The Omen isn't such a beloved series that you had a lot of things you had to kind of deal with, or obstacles that come with that. It could be its own thing. And I think I kind of echo your sentiments by the end of the movie. And obviously you kind of have to tie it into the first Omen movie. They did it beautifully at the end. They also left a little twist at the end, which I guess we won't talk about, that kind of maybe there's going to be, if they do decide to make more movies, there could be like a branch off on a different direction. But the movie did make me want to see The Omen again. It really kind of spurred me, and I said, okay, well, is The Omen on Hulu as well? And yes, I think all of the sequels are in The Omen and its sequels are on Hulu. So yeah, if you're inspired like us, and who knows, we might cover the first Omen, especially since it's a Richard Donner movie. I didn't realize that I forgot that it was a Richard Donner movie.
Well, I'm slowly becoming I'm slowly appreciating the love of certain directors, and Donner comes up over and over again. That invariably you bump into them if you're talking about the 80s, like where we'll find that's a favorite decade we like to go into. 70s as well. The 60s too. We have a couple in the 60s. The not rated part. That's because there was some very graphic scenery in this. That is you see that really. It really drives it home, but not in a way that is shocking or over the top, or I don't know how to say this, but it's the tastefulliest way you could do that in a very, I guess, to kind of borrow what you're saying, like where you could see, like what you covered it, like where you could see this very visceral scene. If we could revisit that for a moment and spend some time there. To where you're right, it could very much be like a bad comedy skit,
absolutely,
especially with the level of quality. But the fact that they filmed it the way they did, whether it was 35 millimeter or whatever, they hit the mark. I think it just goes to, you really believe what you're seeing, and how you start that thought ricochet in your head of like, well, if the church is involved, then what is this? You kind of put your mind. Really good films drop you into that world and cause you to think about it, about how different aspects. And again, you're right. They don't spend too much time in the technicals. The ins and outs of how the structure works, and it's not the Tom Hanks. one like where they go from point to point to point to point, based on that novel. I can't think
Yeah.
of it, but like the Da Vinci Code. That's what it is. It's not.
Uh-huh.
It's not like that. It's not like that at all.
Right.
Which is also a good film in its own right, but that's a whole different genre.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think to double back on the NC-17, I think I saw a quote by the producer that said that the fact that they kind of had to trim down the movie, it made it more intense, in fact, as opposed to lessening the horror of it, which, obviously you got to kind of spin it good. So the producer knows that, so who knows? But yeah, I can see where if you pull back on the extreme gore, it can inspire more of the imagination and intensify the horror. So I can see where that could happen.
Right.
And then they do a beautiful job with all of the lighting. The lighting's killer in this movie. Another scene that I have to bring up because I loved it and it made me want to talk about this movie in our podcast is there's a scene early on where the main character Margaret, she gets to her place, her apartment that she's sharing with somebody. She hasn't met the person yet, but she's exhausted from her travels to get to Rome, and she kind of lays on the bed and is kind of half asleep. And who hasn't kind of looked at either the closet or a piece of cloth hanging somewhere, and for a second. Yes, the second thing. Yeah, see a person there, and she sees, I guess, something from her past. This creepy nun, this coat that's hanging becomes this creepy nun, and I think that scene is so effective, so chilling, and it really hit me, and it very effective and really gets you into her mindset and gets you ready for what's coming in the future in this thing. And they do a wonderful job of letting you get into Margaret's head. There's still a little bit of a mystery as to her past, right, and you're kind of curious about that, but you are really living this movie with her, and she does a beautiful job of kind of facilitating you being there with her through the journey, and very effective. I think there's unfortunately there's sort of like a dialogue today of about women-centric movies. It's kind of goofy that we even have to talk about this, but right, I think this is a movie that does it. There's a thing where I think some Hollywood movies are kind of wedging women in and aren't doing it properly. They just go, okay, we'll just put a woman in there instead of a man. Whereas in this movie, it's a very, very much a feministic female movie, and some people will take that as a negative, but it shouldn't be. This is very naturally, and this movie lets you know that even though it's kind of a female kind of geared movie, it can be for everybody. This is very effective. If you tell a piece of art in a way that's it can be transcendent for everybody. Everybody can enjoy this and really see the female side of this story.
Well, and that's why I love that. I love that you brought that up too, because it really is like that from the standpoint of it. Okay, so the rule of thumb is, and I'm not really breaking any rules here, but the rule of thumb is if you are told that XYZ is the first da 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 da, right? Okay, start thinking about that, like the very first whatever, whatever, but then. If you hear it from that angle, unfortunately it puts a kind of a light on it that is key to a certain kind of color or way, so to speak. And when you can like look at it from afar, but you still see that weird, like it's bathed in a weird color that screws everything up and like kind of puts everything off for a second while you're like watching it. Whereas something like this, completely flying under the radar, it's not about this it's not about the first anything. It
Mhm.
is superior of quality, to like where like when you get into it and you just like any good movie or art, it has many layers, right? And the beautiful part about it is if you
Mhm.
can appreciate it or you really like it, and sometimes this applies when you really hate something too, or you really dislike something, or it rubs you the wrong way or whatever, and you have
Mhm.
an opinion on it. You unwrap these things, and then you find out, oh, it's directed by a woman, this woman-led production and
Mhm.
director, and it adds to it. It doesn't.
Mhm.
It's such a
Yeah, that's
wonderful
that.
addition to it.
Mhm.
And then you totally sidestep any of that other horseshit, that goes on
Mhm.
with the thing because it's quality. Now you may not like it,
Mhm.
or you may rail against it for a different reason because these modern
Mhm.
prequel thing, but that's what would happen if you misstep and you don't hit the mark.
Mhm.
This thing hit the
Mhm.
mark. I don't know that I would give it
Yeah.
a rating or anything. Aside from kind of being cheesy and saying 666 on a scale of
Mhm.
8. I'm just
Mhm.
doing a 2 out of 4 there, but I'm
Yeah.
joking. But no, I
Mhm.
don't really rate. We don't really do that. I mean, we sometimes
Mhm.
it's fun to kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. If I was nailed down, I would probably say about a 7.5.
yeah,
Um,
I
not
would.
not quite an 8. It's not a perfect movie, but yeah, it's getting up there. And yeah, and a
Yeah,
lot of
what's to
people
say
think of
6?
a
It's way better than
6.
yeah. I don't know
Mhm.
where this is. I don't know if this is the Kinoram. Kinoram. I don't know what the hell. I found this website and it's great. It's not IMDb because fuck them.
Right.
And anyway, but not really because I have it open up in another tab. But 6.5. You said 7, 7.5. I would be right there with you. I would say this. I probably would call it an 8 if I would have immediately gone and watched the first film, because then it would have like really made it
Yeah.
a stronger emotional vibe, as the
Mhm.
kids say, like
Yeah.
for watching it. So just
Right.
like you caught yours on your how you watch,
Mhm.
how you watch it, you remember how you. I don't know about you,
Mhm.
but I'm kind of weird like this. If it's a really good movie and it sticks, or something that is substantial and sticks with me, I will
Mhm.
remember when and where I saw it, for the most part. I don't remember
Mhm.
everything, but
Mhm.
or I may not remember the exact details, but I definitely remember the feeling that I had when I watched it that just
Mhm.
draws you in, and you're just like, man.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a movie that is schlocky, obviously, but it does have something it wants to say, and it's a female voice. I think horror is kind of unique in that there's not a whole lot of female voices in horror, but a lot of times when it happens, it's very effective, and they have something they want to say. Another movie that we talked about that was female directed was the Babadook.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Oh, very
female
well done.
directed,
Very well done.
very well done. But yeah, and that's one of the things I love about horror is horror can say a lot of things, kind of indirectly or directly, and come from a horror is sort of like a primal feeling.
Mhm.
It affects everybody. So if you have something to say, you could say it and have an effect on everybody,
Mhm.
and have kind of a group kind of feeling for it. But yeah, it's one of those movies that I think um, I will grow to appreciate
Mhm.
more over
Yep.
time as opposed
Absolutely.
to lesser. It's one of those movies that have something a little bit more each time you probably see it. You're kind of overwhelmed with everything when you're watching it, in a good way.
Mhm.
And I'm it's one of those very few movies where after seeing it, I wanted to watch it again.
Yeah.
I don't normally, I don't usually have the time to say, okay, well, let's
Yeah.
watch it again. But yeah, it was one of those movies that I was sort of enchanted in that world and wanted to stay in it. And my immediate reaction was to watch it again or watch the Omen,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want to kind of ruin it by doing either or. I just wanted that movie to kind of hang in that presence for a little while longer. Now, you did mention the Blu-ray, which interestingly enough, Disney is sort of kind of waffling on whether or not they're going to do physical media.
Right.
The First Omen Blu-ray is not put out by Disney. It's one of the first releases. They did a deal with Sony. Sony's doing a lot of their Blu-rays now, and this is one of their first one. It's doesn't have a lot of extras. There's like a commentary track on it. And any new movie that comes out, I kind of want to get it as a 4K. Blu-rays are okay, but but the new movies that are coming out, they should be in 4K. So I'm kind of holding off on getting a physical media of this. I would like to have it. I will get the Blu-ray if that's the only thing that they're going to release. But I'm hoping one of the boutique dealers like Umbrella or Arrow Films will do a deluxe 4K of this sometime in the future. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I hope it does.
Yeah, I hope you're right too. It would be great to kind of pick this up if it was special. I'd still get this, like, if I have a few extra spare pennies, nickels, and dimes, and then order it. I probably wouldn't order it off Amazon, but I'd probably try to find somewhere else. But my bias aside, at the end of the day, I'm still gonna get it off of Blu-ray and do it that way. But yeah, this one I can't help but say that it is good. It is a good film to fall into. Probably deserves. It punches way above what its expectations are. And it punches in a good way. And it like you said, I agree. I am like that just as well. When just like Possession, it just sticks with you. Like that one became a quick favorite for me personally. And I was gonna say, I think we've covered just about I just want to take a spin over my notes here. I think we believe we covered everything that there is to say. It is very a very not for the lighthearted. If you're easily but it's also it's not God, it's not like it's not body gore. It's not a shock film at all like that. It shocks you in different ways. That kind of like just make you, kind of hit that that invisible finger that hits your spine.
Yeah, there are some punctuations. There's always a reason for the gore. It's not gore for gore's sake. But yeah, there's some impactful scenes that have some gore to them that are highly effective. But yeah, if you're averse to anything gore, then yeah, you might. And also, I'm not really a religious person, so the whole Catholic thing it's sort of like a kind of foreign world to me. So people that are very Catholic may have some problems with it. I don't know, because all of it kind of made sense to me. The whole scene where there's one of the characters, I think her name is Luce is becoming a nun. The going through the rituals of becoming a nun. It's almost like a wedding. I don't know how true to life that is, but that was kind of threw me off. Was okay? Is this how it really goes? I also want to say,
this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, but yeah, and then the jackal or the creature that they used to impregnate people with. It borders on kind of goofy looking, so that was one of the things that I had. But they kind of keep it in shadows, so that was probably for the best. And then there's a scene where a woman's giving birth towards the middle, and Margaret may be having a kind of a vision or a hallucination during that. So, but yeah, that scene is a little graphic, and yeah, it's hard. People that have a phobia of birth can may throw them off as well. But There's another movie that came out similarly, at a similar time that the movie was kind of compared with, that I haven't seen yet. That's also on Hulu that I will eventually see. It's called The Immaculate.
Okay.
It's I forget who stars in that one, but I think it's also about I don't know if it's or she's giving birth to the Antichrist or not, but it has to do with the Catholic Church and Rome, and I think her possession or a demon something or other. So yeah, that may be something we look at in the future. But I almost thought, well, we could probably see that and do a comparison. But I thought this movie deserved a podcast all on its own.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, that one, it actually, there's things, and I think it's YouTube. It knows what I watch, basically, and it would be. It keeps recommending Constantine to me, which I'll throw that on the pile because we have not covered. Well, I'd love to cover that and rewatch that. I've actually started watching some of it.
He's my favorite DC character.
Yeah, and there's very good hope that there is some good kind of Keanu Reeves good vibes coming in the future. Hopefully, we hope. That because I know that he has been very that's a project that is near and dear to him as we kind of walk our way out the door here, but he I would love to watch that, so keep your eyes again. We have some big plans for October. We're rolling up here on the caboose, as we always do. We go for about an hour, a little over an hour. I think when we're a little bit more enthusiastic, we take it a little bit longer, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we love what we do, and we love talking to you guys out there about these wonderful, beautiful films. This one is every once in a while, a modern film like this comes along, and you mentioned it too when we were talking on the in the green room before the show about the Civil War, which also is near and dear to me for this year. A lot of good movies that we saw. Long Legs as well. This also kind of gave me that same kind of good feeling, good vibes of enjoying a movie and watching it. Fundamentally, that's I always looking for that. So there is hope for films and movies like this. Prey, was it Prey? That was kind of like this too. On a Hulu kind of thing.
And that was a Hulu,
I think it was betting a little bit lower than this one, I think, but it still held its own.
Oh, yeah.
But how can you screw up a space monster from from outer space? Let me bring up our bona fides here, and then we're gonna cover the bases, and then we're gonna say a bit of do.
I think Hulu, or I think that's where Disney is kind of focusing with the 20th Century Fox properties. They're kind of hitting it out of the park with the kind of small or lower tier reboots or sequels. The Prey was a very good movie that we both enjoyed.
Either there are other ones that have come out that have people have wide acclaim as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention also one that we also covered was Hellraiser, the reboot of Hellraiser.
That is true. That is so true. No, that's very true. If they were smart, if they were really smart, they would treat it. They would kind of take all those really smart people that put all that stuff together, if they're the same people there, and spin out and do like their own little version of A24. But it would be whatever. They could easily win hearts and minds for that, for sure. Because there's such a calling, there's such a appetite for it, in my opinion, to have these wonderful little, kind of things on a smaller scale and have them do so well, even if they don't do, as wide as the latest money printing machine that big Disney puts out, or hasn't been putting out. As they've been getting their juju back, but
people complain about modern film.
And I do.
No matter the decade, no matter the decade, no matter the time, there's always someone complaining about modern movies. But you just have to. I think if all you eat are the major releases, you're always going to be kind of starved for good entertainment.
Sure.
You gotta have to go out there. If you're into horror, especially now, I think you're eating good, especially good quality horror. You're eating good. You got A24, all of their horror movies. Last weekend, I also watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I heard lots of good things about it, and it was leaving Netflix. I wanted to watch it before it left Netflix. That one was entertaining. I don't know if we'll cover that one, but because it's on the lower tier, but it was enjoyable. But yeah, there's a lot of good quality. You got A24. You got Mike Flanagan, who's sort of like his own little Stephen King. He's kind of making his own kind of unique horror there with films and TV series. Yeah, and you've got this movie. You got a lot of people, a lot of studios kind of aping what A24 is doing by making these quality horror movies that are smart. And there's a lot of people out there that filmmakers that are hungry, new filmmakers that can make quality, smart horror movies.
Yep.
So yeah, the more please, we're hungry for that stuff.
Yeah, and our Arkasha Stevenson, I absolutely will. I will absolutely follow her. Very interested in any other projects that she does in the future. Matter of fact, while we do that, before we go, I do want to spend a little bit of time and see if there's anything coming up.
Yeah, I will say she did direct a couple of episodes from Brand New Cherry Flavor. It's sort of an odd movie or odd series on Netflix. I think I watched all of the first episode and meant to return to it. But it's not horror per se, but it's kind of it is kind of a unique show. I may return to it. Right now I'm kind of on the small screen as far as TV series. I'm kind of focusing on mafia movies. There's TV series.
It's so funny you say that. I fell into a Sopranos hole on YouTube again. But all praise to her as far as it goes for being a writer and director. Whenever you can find that, and somebody who knows how to do world building and knows how the camera works, it is only going to yield great things in the future if history has taught us anything. If my I'm not original in saying that, I'm sure, but I hope to see
if you're big into and if you're kind of into the creepypasta stuff, definitely check out that Channel Zero series. Like I said, each season is a story unto itself. So yeah, kind of check it out, and if one of them doesn't tickle your fancy, maybe try one of the other ones. But great stuff. Great stuff indeed.
Well, we're gonna roll up here to the very end and do a last little bit of plugging, and we're gonna ask you kindly if you could please subscribe. We would be very appreciative. This stuff is all free. This is all our little passion project, whatever you want to call it, as it goes for film. And I hem and haw here. But the First Last Nerdom on YouTube, always be able to find us. 217 this will make, I believe. 428. We would really love it if we could hit 450 maybe in the next month or two. Who knows? We'll see. It's going to be a little bit before I can throw some more some more promotional money at the thing. But this thing is we love to do. Tom, as always, is our president and vice president in one person of our social medias. You can find him on Reddit. If you want to strike up a conversation, please do. He welcomes any and all, as well as on X, which is very fun and entertaining to dip into if you have your if you follow the right. It's kind of like Reddit. It's it can look like an absolute trash can if you don't set it up or interact with it. But generally speaking, it's a very fun thing to get into. But also at McAllister_T, FirstLastNerdom, that's our official channel. You can find me on my publication of record, my website, ApeIt.Ink, where I cover all the heavier things, all kinds of things, current events, politics, geology, history, YouTube picks. Always fun to do that. Dip a toe in. You can also find me on Twitter, X as it is called nowadays, at ApeIt_Ink. Totally. And I would say that as our images have been flying through the magic of the air, Tom and I are going to sign off here and hit the after show. If you want to be part of the after show, maybe we can talk about it, but we got to get our numbers up. So we would really appreciate it if you could join us maybe one day. But as it goes, I've been Mike.
I'm Tom, and give us a geeky thumbs up if you liked us.
I forgot to say that, didn't I?
Yep. And give us a little subscribe thing.
Fantasy and sci-fi trance.